lovelies! Welcome to another video. In this video, I show off how to do this here adventure pocket. Stay tuned all the way to the end because I have exciting news to share with you, so please enjoy. So when I was making the wool bicycle trousers, I accidentally cut out a pair of the pockets from the wool as well as the lining. Rather than like throw these away, I had the bizarre idea, what if I turned this into kind of a faux medieval pocket? Bear with me here because I know the shape isn't quite right. It probably would be closer to being right if I cut these off. But like they're already here, so why would I, right? But if I cut a slit down the middle, sew everything together really nice, I think this could be a pocket. Okay, I did some sewing and I've got this all together. I'm a little concerned it's too big. I used a pretty significant seam allowance when I sewed around real quick. And I still think it might be pretty large. But you know what? We're just gonna go for it. This is, it's scrap material. Didn't really have a great plan. Still kind of winging it. So, we're just gonna see what happens. Outside, inside, outside, inside. So basically, I don't like doing this, and I'm going to completely change tracks and rip all this out and make a new plan, because this is not, I'm not loving it. I'm not loving it. Okay, I've made a completely different plan. After all of that, what I'm going to do instead this time is I'm going to flat line it, wrong sides together, and then do the outer like raw edge seam in some sort of binding. And maybe I'll use the lining material Maybe I'll do something else more contrasting. I don't know. But I think it will be just as nice if I do it that way. And I think I can control the shape a little bit more. I might make it more of a less rounded and maybe a little bit more traditional medieval pocket shaped. Alright, so I'm gonna do some sort of edge binding on here. I need to determine how large I want it to be and then essentially quadruple that number for how thick to cut the ribbon. Because it's gonna be like one piece and then you fold it in half and then in half, if that makes any sense. I promise it will work out. So I think maybe like a 1/2 inch? Maybe too bulky. Maybe that might be 3/8. Yeah, I think I'll do 3/8 on each edge. So 3/8 times 4. Oh, 1.5. That's just 1.5. So I will cut strips that are 1 1/2 inches and then fold them and iron them and then sew them. Yes. So I made my bias tape, and as you may have seen in that previous cutting shot, I didn't make it on the bias, so it might be a little tricky, but I just really wanted to use up scraps and not have to cut something else completely off the bolt. So we'll see how this goes. I'm just gonna pin it in and sew it in, and hopefully it will look nice. I think I'm already liking it a lot more. I think it gives it kind of a intentional look that I was missing from the previous designs. Okay, turn this around for you here. I have it all whip stitched around, the binding is everywhere, that I want it to be on the outside of the pocket. Now I am going to kind of sew up my little embellishments and play around with the design. Play around with the design here, but the final design will have it as a traditional pocket with a slit down the center. So I'm going to cut that, which is terrifying, but I'm going to do it. I have done a little bit since I last recorded. My camera battery ran out, so I was working a little bit while I was charging. So what I've done is I finished putting in all of the edging. I see whip stitching when I close my eyes now. And then I turned, these are again little extra pieces I had from the trousers. I didn't put them on. I sewed them, I turned them, I ironed them. This one I top stitched, but I'm not convinced, honestly. I know it probably needs the top stitching, but I don't know if I don't know. It looks really clumsy. It's not even or straight. So I think I'm probably going to take that out and redo it and try to do a little bit of a better job. Because right now it looks kind of childish, and maybe I just didn't cut it straight. I don't know. I'll see what I can do to fix that. My plan is coming together here. So I'm going to use these to create the loops that will go on somebody's belt. Probably I'll put in buttons and buttonholes here so it can be detachable and you can put it on anything you want. And I'm debating putting this here. The tragedy is it's just a hair too big. So I need to decide, do I take it apart and redo it? Do I make it just a little bit smaller? Do I make the whole thing a little bit shorter so it fits? Because that's another option. I don't know. I have some things to play with. It's just past 10 o'clock here though, so I should probably go to bed. Or at least think about it rather than working on this more. So I will work on this more tomorrow. Okay, I spent like an embarrassingly long amount of time trying to unstitch all of the top stitching I put in that didn't look very good. And I got a lot of it unstitched and unpicked, but not all of it. And you know what? It was bothering me a lot, and I've just decided not to care. It's like, this was a quick little project I was gonna spend only like a small amount of time on. It was gonna be not a big deal, just a quick way to use up the scraps. So I'm just gonna like move forward. It doesn't look perfect. I think in the end it will be extremely minor. I was planning on ignoring the little top sections here because the straps would go over them, but then I realized if I was doing it the way I intended to, they would lift up, and I didn't want that totally exposed like that. Okay, so I've been playing around with some things here. This whole project has been kind of an exercise in me experiencing scope creep. I think we're at the point now. I've gotten these secured on the back for the belt loops. I need to choose buttons. So I have a bag of just like mystery shitty plastic buttons, but I think for this project I'm gonna use, I think, these metal ones. I actually bought these for the Slytherin project eventually, but I can always get more, and I'm only gonna use 2 of them. So I think I'm gonna do these here. I thought about these ones just because they're kind of basic, but I think they're too basic. I think these really just are shirt buttons. Now I'm going to make buttonholes for these little guys, and I think I'll be done after that. So I don't know, hang out, watch me make buttonholes. The adventure pouch in all its finalized glory. There are a lot of things I would have actually done differently to start this over completely. I was kind of winging it from start to finish just because, like, I had fabric in this shape and I was like, well, we'll just see what happens. And it turned out fine, but there are definitely some lessons learned. So I went to the trouble of making these completely functional buttonholes and buttons, and then realized that unless I wanted the whole pocket to kind of like slip and slide and slouch, because it's at an angle here, it's not straight up and down, I had to affix a little bit of a tack here. So essentially this belt loop is permanent now. So there's really no point to this at all after I did that. I think if it had been a straight vertical sort of situation and these straps had been shorter, it would have been fine, but with the length that they are, they had a tendency to sort of slip and slide horizontally and then leave the pouch sort of unsupported. So I did add a little thread tack there and there just to like make sure that on the loops itself everything was stayed in place. The other thing that I did, which I don't know if I would do it this way if I did this again, which is I used a lot of snaps because I wanted it to have like as much functionality in different configurations as possible. So this little flap attaches to the back of the pocket and folds over the front of the pocket, and I have it sort of in place with a couple of snaps, and they're not a thing I don't like is somehow I managed to make this not symmetrical, so the snaps aren't symmetrical, and it's very petty and minor, but like it does kind of bother me that they're not the same. I'll live. Obviously I'll live. For the most part it's closed and it doesn't even matter. But yeah, that is a thing. I am very aware. The other thing is I put snaps in here so that the pocket itself could be fully opened if you wanted to. And this is different from how a medieval pocket functions. This is more bizarre adventure pouch mechanics, not how a medieval pocket works at all. But I thought it added some versatility if you had something very awkwardly shaped you needed to carry in your adventure pocket. You know, you just never know. Traffic cone, upside down traffic cone, you just never know. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's the adventure pouch. I had a delightful time making this. I changed tacks on it multiple times throughout the process, and I regret nothing. It was fun. Go make some fun things. So normally I share with you guys the cost of a particular project to be transparent about things, but for this one I literally just used fabric scraps. So the cost was $0. I know it wouldn't be $0 if you were, say, buying material to make this yourself and you had no scraps. But I really encourage you, if you want to make projects like these, just like use random stuff. It's much more fun that way. You have to be a little bit more creative with the size of scraps you have and like the color combinations. I think, I don't know, I really encourage people to play around and have fun. So I promised you at the start of this video that I had some exciting news to share, and that is that when I started entering into this world of costuming and sewing and just like making things in general, I was really craving community and the sort of community aspect where you get to show and tell, you get to ask questions, you get to like find one another. And I've been really lucky to find people to share myself with, but I know that's not everyone's experience, and I was really feeling called to make a place where people could sort of come together and have that community experience. So I've made that. And I'm really excited and I can't wait to share it with you guys. It is going to be hosted on Discord, which I know is like, some people love Discord, some people hate Discord. If it really doesn't work out, we'll find something else. But the way it's going to work is there's going to be a private Discord, and it's going to be hopefully populated by all of you amazing people. And we're gonna have some fun making things. It's gonna be a place where people who are queer and trans and plus size and anyone who feels the need to have a little bit of a little safe corner of the internet to make things that fit them. I want to provide that, and I want us to have a place to sort of come together and do that. It's gonna be through a Patreon, and I had a little bit of a moral quandary about this, right? But the reality is I want this to be as self-sustaining as possible and as like future-proofed as possible. I don't want this to be something that fizzles out after a couple of months. That would like really defeat the purpose. So doing it through Patreon allows me to have a little bit of compensation for the moderating and the like management of it, and to actually access the Discord is going to be the base level of the Patreon, so it's going to be really, really cheap. I want to have as little barrier to entry as possible. There are of course going to be other tiers available on the Patreon for like more goodies, but just for the Discord access, the community access is going to be the base level. Again, I want this to be a fun place for everybody, but having it behind a small little paywall will help ensure that this community is here for the long run. I want to be with you guys through thick and thin. Yeah. So yeah, the Patreon is going to be patreon.com/bequeermakestuff, and that's how you're going to access the Discord community. If that's like a huge barrier, just like let me know and we can figure something out. There's gonna be like other tiers too. So like the base level is just access to the Discord, but there's gonna be a fun like next tier up where we're gonna have like monthly video chats with one another to like check in on projects and hang out and show and tell cool things that we've done. There's a tier above that, which is gonna have like blooper reels, more cat content, and the ability to vote in like what should I do next polls. So again, that's all on Patreon. It's patreon.com/bequeermakestuff, just like this YouTube channel. And I'm really excited about it. I think this is a great way for us to like come together as a community and really, I don't know, for us to all be queer and make stuff together, which is really all I want. So thanks for listening, and I hope to see you over there. But either way, I really appreciate you watching, and until next time, be queer and make stuff. Bye.